Hello, everyone. Welcome to the round table. For some reason, that video didn't play. Don't know what's going on today. I've just said my browser failed to play that video, so we'll just go live without anyone actually watching. So this is another episode of the Coaches Roundtable. Today we're talking about running backs. These are just with myself this week. I do apologise. Mike's busy and Tasha's driving somewhere, so just me. So I'm sorry to everyone that is sat waiting to join this, by the way, to all the coaches. We were going to have like a 5-minute little break here, but it broke, so we're starting. So introduce the first coach. We've got Toby.
Hey, Adam. Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, thanks for coming on, man. I can't believe that just broke there. Me talking about the 5-minute video.
Sod's law, wasn't it?
Yeah,
at least we got to see Josh Amos catch an interception and almost return it back. I know what happened at the end. I was there.
For me, it just said field. I was like, is it playing? Is it not playing? So I just thought I'll just cancel it and just hope for the best, shall I? So can we just have a quick elevator pitch, Toby, on who you coach for and what your role in the national team is?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Adam. Toby Chesters, Sheffield Giants, currently Sheffield Giants head coach. Been head coach of the Giants for a few years now. Running back by trade, played running back for a number of years myself. Coached running backs at Hallam University, and then at Sheffield Predators, and then at the Giants, as well as the head coaching stuff. Was running back coach of the GB adults team from 2016 to 2019. Which was good fun. We had a couple of tournaments, one in Worcester and one in Helsinki in Finland, which we did quite well at. And now working for Wayne and Paul Sherritt as running back coach for GB students going forward.
Brilliant. Thanks for coming on, mate. I do appreciate it. Did you say, though, you could see that video when I played it?
I saw a few brief minutes, but I also have seen it 1,000 million times because it gets shared a lot. So it looked like Josh Amos catching one and almost starting to return it back all the way for a touchdown. So.
Yeah, it never happened. If you haven't seen it, never happened.
It did. I was there. It happened.
Nah, it didn't.
Phenomenal.
Next up, we've got John. Welcome to the stream.
How's it going, Adam? Hello, Toby. Thanks for being
John.
Thanks for coming on, man.
I'm John Angel, current head coach for the Shropshire Revolution. Been head coach this difficult season. Took the helm at the start of this season, so interesting times as a first-time head coach. I was running backs coach for the Revolution for 2 years. Played O-line all my life, and obviously took that O-line knowledge onto the running backs and let them know where they need to be going and where they should be going. Took on at the GB juniors, the under-19s and under-17s as a running backs GA, and then this season being elevated up to under-17s running backs coach.
Oh, that's brilliant, mate. Thanks for coming on. I really do appreciate you coming on. Next up, we've got Andy.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, Andy Scott. I coach at Surrey Stingers. I'm the head coach at the Stingers. Been there for 7 years. Previous to that, I was at Greenwich Mariners. I've coached at the London Warriors, the Kent Exiles, always running backs or offensive coordinator in all of those roles, and now GB under-19s running backs coach. So happy to be on.
So were you guys that are all here, are all mainly like the junior, youth or student roles, aren't you? I would prefer that, mate. Honestly, those senior guys, like, it's not for me.
So I spent a few years coaching seniors. It's good. I think it's really rewarding, but actually dialing it back and getting involved in the formative years, I think is also rewarding in its own right. You getting these guys that the likes of John and Andy have coached through the junior programs and all those kinds of things, and they're coming into the university age groups, and you've still got an opportunity to shape them into delivering something that is really beneficial and all those kinds of things. So there's pros and cons to all the programs, I think.
It's how attentive those guys are as well. That how they just hang on every single word you say, kind of thing. And obviously, coaching from an adult coming to coach the younger guys, it is brilliant listening to having the guys listening to it and taking in everything you're doing and everything you're saying to them. So it's that is definitely more rewarding.
See, for me, you guys must get them at like they've got a talent there. You can see something. It's raw, and you guys get to mold them into what you are looking for at that national level. For me, you guys must love that.
I think there's a real benefit to it, and I think the fact that we're all aligned in our approach means that we can actually. It's not just about sort of technique and those kinds of. It's about culture. So it's about sort of all of us through the different age groups of youth football being aligned on, what it is to play for Great Britain, and what it means to be a student athlete, and what it means to be a scholar athlete, and all those kinds of things, and then how we progress that cultural sort of mentality through the age groups as people change and develop. I think it's really powerful to be able to do that.
So what is it that when you've got a guy that turns up a training and says, I'm not quite sure, I've played multiple positions at youth football, or I've played multiple positions at junior, what makes you say you've got it as a running back, or I think you should be a running back? What ticks that box for you guys? What is it you look for, essentially?
I'll let the boys answer first.
Well, for me, it's athleticism and no fear in contact is some of the things I like to see in a running back. You can definitely see the similarities between your running backs and some of your smaller linebackers, but it is getting those guys that are not scared to go into contact, who are quite happy to take half the man and go through them, kind of thing. And then obviously you've got some of the speedier guys who enjoy bouncing to the outside, which as no lineman always used to frustrate me, but that's the way the running backs go sometimes. And it's just looking for speed, tenacity, and aggression, kind of thing, really.
Yeah, I'd agree with John on that. So the mentality to actually want to play the position is big for me. Like, if you want to actually get out there and be the ball carrier and know that everyone's keying off on you, I think you have to have something about you to begin with. But I'd also say I kind of try and look at their overall build and some kind of, if we can evaluate anyone with like a framework and have a look at, how do they move? I've seen plenty of people that look like they're running backs or say they want to be running backs, but once they get into the specifics of the position, it's pretty clear that they're not. So, I think for first and foremost, it's heart, though. It's exactly what John said. It's getting into that and really wanting to do it, and then, just going from there.
Yeah, I 100% endorse what John and Andy have said. I think there's something there around being accountable and being a leader within the organization that suggests that you are happy and comfortable in assuming the role of closing games out. You're happy to be, if you're getting into a position where you're getting 15 or 20 carries in the second and third and fourth quarter, that guy needs to be happy that he's accepting that responsibility to not turn the ball over, to get the yards that are needed, to get the third and threes, to get to enable the first downs, to keep the clock turning over, and it takes a special sort of guy to be able to handle that sort of pressure and not turn the ball over as well. So I think that's really key.
And you're also asking these guys to on say a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 2, that inside run, that 1 or 2 yard is enough, and that them hitting contact and still churning those legs for that 1 or 2 yards. That's it, job done. They're signed. They don't need to, do anything spectacular. They don't need to go for a touchdown or things like that. That knowing that their job is to get that 1 or 2 yards for that team to get that first down is imperative.
See, I find it very interesting that whenever I ask that question to any other group of coaches from like another position, they'll always mention something like size or something, especially for like lineman coaches. Running backs, even if you look at the NFL, the amount of different size and shapes running backs that you've got, it's unbelievable. For you guys to like evaluate that in such a short time, that must be like a ridiculously hard job.
It's a leadership position, and it's the intangibles. So you can see the guys that are physically able and physically can do X, Y, and Z. But then you've also got these intangibles where you're expecting these guys to actually be leaders on the field. and that takes some time to evaluate. So, when we're looking at, and I'm sure Andy and John are the same, when scouting people, you're looking for run, you're looking for catch, you're certainly looking for pass protection, all those kinds of things as well. But you're also looking for testimonials from people and coaches' feedback and all those kinds of things. And I won't be taking sort of running backs that aren't necessarily stepping up and wanting to be leaders within their own organizations, because that's what it takes to be accountable. If somebody's going to give you the ball, 3 downs out of 4 to close a game out, you want somebody that wants to have that responsibility and will live up to that. So I think it's really key.
Someone on a Sunday afternoon or a Monday morning messaging you on Facebook saying where's film, why isn't it annotated, things like that. Were those kind of guys who are desperate to see huddle film, who are desperate to see your notes on that huddle film. They make really good running backs.
And it goes back to some coachability as well. That's a key thing for me. I think Toby just touched on that. You have to want to learn the position. It's a lot tougher than a lot of people give it credit to. It's not just running the ball, pass protection, knowing the entire offense. There's a lot that has to be taken on by a running back. So actually, having that frame of mind that we want to get in front of this and be the best at what we're doing. If you can see that in a kid from an early age, they're going to be successful, and that's what we're looking for.
For me, from coaching at a young kid age, I'm saying under 17s contact. Running backs, when they first come to the sport, they tend to just think, we're just going to get the ball and run. And that's all we're doing. When you're talking about pass protection and things like that as well, I think that's where you find your true running back, when you start asking them to do other things than just running with the ball. Is that the same for you guys? Is that where you start to let's say, at your starters, let's say?
Yeah, I think that's really valid. I think, athletic kids can run, athletic kids can catch. Not all athletic kids want to stand in the hole and block a blitzing linebacker, with all those kinds of things. So, there is a degree of wanting to play that position, being physical enough to adapt to all those kinds of things, and actually having the passion to do it. I think, there's lots of studies now around, what value does a running back, and we've seen them drop and rise in the draft in the NFL and all those kinds of things. And, not many elite athletic running backs get taken in the first round. I think there was 2 or 3 in this one, 2 or 3 in the previous one, all those kinds of things. And I think it depends on, also the scheme that you're setting up, but there are lots of different uses as a versatility attached to running backs. And it's not just about, who can run the fastest once they've got the ball. I think, if you've got a deep passing game, if you're an OC and you want to play deep passing game, then you need to have, six man protection, and that involves a running back potentially that can step up into that sort of half slide, full slide gap responsibility to pick that blitz up and all those kinds of things. And actually even understanding where it's coming from, I think, is half the battle. There's lots of different technicalities attached to it. I agree with Andy. I think historically people have just said, give the kid the ball and he can run and score a touchdown, all those kinds of things. But, in today's modern offenses, there's so much more to it, and you become that extra person.
And that's it. It's about not being precious about the position, isn't it? It's knowing that you are going to get handoffs and get the ball, but 50% of the time you are going to be in pass protection, and you're going to be helping out the rest of your team and doing that job, and you're happy to put your body on the line to be able to, as you quite rightly say, a blitzing linebacker coming through, or even on some occasions at the end. I've witnessed it a couple of times at some of the GB camps where you've got some of the smaller running backs quite happily to throw themselves at a D end, just for the position kind of thing, and that's the kind of tenacity you want. And sometimes at the adult level, at club level, you don't see that. But if you are spotting that, and it's definitely worth holding on to those guys.
See, I've got a situation in my team, so I'm just going to ask you guys out just to help my team out here, basically. So we'll ignore the people watching here for a second, so you can just help me. So I've got a situation at my club now where I've got 2 really good running backs, and what I would class as really good in my team, and I would say the guy that's starting is only starting over the other guy because of how good it is when he fakes like he's got the ball. So if we're running like a play action, how good it is, he looks like he's got the ball when we're running a play action. And that's the difference for me. So what's that like at the next level, at your guys' level? Do you really have a big emphasis on that as well or not?
I guess it depends on the scheme. So if you're running a play action scheme, play action offense, then yeah, for sure. I think if you're running a lot of sort of counters, a lot of all those kinds of things, misdirection type offenses, then yeah, it's important. I think your point though probably extends to beyond your player's capability to pretend he's got the football, and it's more to do with his willingness to pretend he's got the football. So he's assuming a role within your offense that doesn't add. He's not going to get player of the year for running 57 fakes, all those kinds of things, but he's willing to put in 100% to sell that fake and potentially get cleaned out by a lineman or somebody that's coming through you and hasn't got football. So it maybe isn't necessarily his ability to sell that play action fake. It's his ability to
buy into the team.
Yeah, exactly. And to buy into your culture. I think that's more important.
And again, it goes with he's stepping on the field every single play that he's gonna get the ball. Like you don't want him walking onto the play or walking out onto the field out of formation, knowing it's a pass play and having an aura about him that this play's got nothing to do with me. I'm not going to put 110% in. This guy, it sounds like he's putting 110% in, regardless of whether he's getting the ball or not. And that's a great quality.
And also another element of that, which is what Toby was touching on, is how are you grading those two guys or however many guys are in your unit? What attributes do you value, and what attributes put one ahead of the other? If they're both roughly the same, is it a mentality thing? Is it a leadership thing? Is it the willingness to do maybe what the other guy won't? I'm in a similar, speaking from experience, I'm in a similar position. There's a couple of really good running backs I've got at the moment working with, and it's the little intangibles. They're both roughly the same level. So what I'm actually looking for is how well can that guy line up in the slot? How well can he pass protect? How well does he run the sweep? Like the inside zone, outside zone stuff, they're both on par. So I have to look past that now and think, what's going to separate them. So maybe that's another good thing you can consider in that scenario.
Yeah, for me, the way that this is just between us now. We'll forget we're live. But the way that I teach my guys to play running back is I always tell them that there should be like a hybrid between a receiver and a tight end. So that, for me, that's my perfect mold between that receiver and tight end that can come out and either block or just run it down someone's throat, or can motion outside and run a fade or come across on the slant. I want them doing everything. They're like my jack of all trade guys. Like they get everything from me. I love a running back. Love it. Just behind me, offensive line. I love a running back.
But you're talking about versatility there as well, and like something that Toby mentioned earlier. Again, it's an ever-changing position. If we look at the NFL, the amount of routes that those guys are running now, the route tree coming out of the backfield is expanding. What they're asked to do on a regular basis is changing. So, yeah, there is a certain level of application that comes down to our level of football as well. So it's definitely worth being a versatile player across the board.
And it's absolutely really relevant, actually, Andy. Look at Travis Etienne, who's just been drafted out of Clemson by Jacksonville, and they've gone into rookie camp, and Urban Meyer has said that.
Receiver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Promo shot. Have you got a Pizza Hut pizza there, or a Polo Diet Pepsi, perhaps? So Travis Etienne. Yeah, did he go one or two running back in this draft? Maybe two, because I think Najee Harris went one to Pittsburgh, didn't he? He's basically been drafted because he's Trevor Lawrence's best mate, but he's also really, really versatile. So he's doing his whole rookie camp at wide receiver or slot receiver out of an empty type formation. But he's arguably there. So Jacksonville have taken a first round pick on a wide receiver on a running back who's very, very talented. But maybe if it was, we were looking at him as a true running back and not necessarily on his versatility, wouldn't have got drafted until the second round. So, there's lots of interesting, there's lots of interesting wriggles on it based on what your offensive scheme looks like these days. It's not a day where we're all run heavy, 2 running backs or 1 fullback, 1 running back kind of concept. There's lots of interesting things, and versatility, as the guys have said, is really, really important.
Now that's the thing I was going to bring up in a while. So now that we've said that running backs can do lots of different things and they've got to be versatile, do you still need the 2 different body types, let's say, of running back? Do you still need that big guy that's going to get that short yardage and the little guy that can come and catch at the backfield? Or realistically, do you want the guy that can do both? Like, you've got that medium guy that can do the bit of both. What's the ideal situation?
Andy is desperate here. Let's
go
go,
on,
Andy.
I would say this is the toughest question, and one that gets asked all the time. It's still both, but I would caveat that with there is so much strength in having a guy that can do like both of those skill sets, and they're rare finds. But yeah, I definitely, if we find anyone that can do both of those skill sets, grab them instantly, because for the most part, in the level that we play at, we're finding one or the other.
Yeah,
so
sure.
if you find one who can do both, then that's great. But yeah, so I think there's a need, and I mean John will attest to this. In the under 19s, we've got a camp of probably both. There's some of those guys that cross over from receiver that are quite agile and quick, and then there's some guys that can definitely run inside with some power. But yeah, I would love to find more of the both. But also, what does that come down to? Are we talking about strength and physicality, and how much S&C are we actually doing in the UK? What kind of physical specimens are we actually finding? So that's another question.
Yeah, you imagine that the special weapon you've got, if you bring a guy out on every 3rd and short play and he's just stuffing it straight up the gut every time, and then all of a sudden he can drop out to the flat and he's taking a pass and he's upfield. So it's definitely a weapon.
I think the role of the H-back and what a H-back really is in the current sort of spread offense and all those kinds of things. So, is it a tight end? Is it a blocking fullback? Is it a big running back? Is it a big traditional running back? All those kinds of things. So, I think there's it's evolving, and I think it's great. It's great that it evolves because it adds value. The evolution of the process adds value to the position. We'd all like 6 foot guys that are 225 pounds that can run a 4.540 and catch a football out of the backfield, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it. You could just go spread all the time and one back, and they could do a multitude of jobs. But ultimately, it's not always going to be the case. So, I think it's evolving, and I think it's good, and I think we should stay on top of that because I think that's the most important part.
Here's a tough question for you then, right? So. This honestly, I've just thought of this and this blew my mind because I'm trying to answer it in my head as well. So everyone's heard the phrase "speed kills," right? Now, does speed kill if you don't follow your blocks, or does a slower guy win if he follows his blocks? Which one?
Patient.
Yeah.
Unless you're running outside all the time and you're running off tackle or you're running jet or all those kinds of things. I think there's a degree of patience, and it's except. So there was a really interesting article in Sports Illustrated this week around what's more important. Is it acceleration or is it top end speed? And I think that the point is that for a running back, it's nice to have both. But ultimately, what gets you more yards per carry on average is probably acceleration, which is actually finding the hole, having the patience for the hole to develop and hitting the hole at a rapid rate. And then if you get caught, if you run 25 yards and get caught by a cornerback who's 25 pounds lighter than you, then maybe that's something that coaches want to draft in the future. But ultimately, you've made first down, you've gained 25 yards, and you've got caught. So yeah, I think it's acceleration rather than top end.
Yeah,
there's no point being able to run 100 miles an hour if it takes you 25 seconds to get there.
Speed or acceleration, it's not something I think I can comment on. But when you've got a running back that's running 15 yards laterally to get 2 yards forward, or you've got that guy who can hit contact, who can still run, pump his legs after contact and fall 2 yards. You definitely want that guy who can run up the center, who can take contact on, who can break contact, and he's following his blocks.
I think it's vision as well, right? So I think vision and football IQ is really underrated for running backs. So even as an example today, right? So we were at practice today, 3-4 hours. We were running a lot of outside zone, and even within our outside zone run game, at some points you're like, stick a foot in the ground, get upfield, right? Just because it's outside zone doesn't mean you need to get around the edge every time, right? So get to a position where you think you have some, vertical options to get forward and stick a foot in the ground and go. Just get on with it. And it's that kind of thing. It's that kind of sort of learning agility that we need to work on as well, which is, we draw a play in a playbook that says, right, outside zone or inside zone does X, Y, and Z. But actually, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be picking up all the opportunities to make yards if something breaks down within that play structure. And I think that's a sort of, thing that sometimes we miss out on.
Furiously on the sideline shouting, "Get north!"
Yeah, for sure.
I'm actually doing a presentation on outside zone as well as part of one of these talks. So,
there's a plug. There's a plug.
Yeah, there's a plug in there. It's got to be done. But no, that is a really valid point. We're always teaching this at under 19 level. Is everyone wants to outrun the defense? That is their first thing. Yeah, we can outrun this guy. We can outrun that guy. You can. But if you put your foot in the ground and take it where your vision has led you to see that it's opened up, you're for sure going to find a better hole and actually make positive yards. So I think it's huge. Like, vision is a massive, massive thing. And also having the ability to know where to look is quite a big key as well.
Sure.
One of the things I learned really early on was that people are not necessarily even tracking any kind of defensive player. They were so focused on either watching the floor or watching the O-lineman in front of them that they have no ability to see, what's the first man that's going to reach contact with me, and how do I avoid that, or how do I take that contact on? So that's really big for me, especially on outside zone. I think you've nailed it. There's two things you can really look at from a vision point of view there.
So I love what you've just said, but I love it even in a different context, which is with the inside zone. And for me, if you're running inside zone, it's not only important to understand for the running backs where your linemen are going to pick up the double team and where they're going to get to the next level. It's also really, really important to watch where the 1-tech or 3-tech, whichever direction you want to run towards, which way their first step is. Yeah. So if they're stepping inside in a pinch, then your run lane is going to be very, very different than if they were going to step outside to a force. So it's more around, there's not just around understanding where your offense is going, but it's also understanding where the defensive line is doing and where their first step is and all those. So, it is about, running backs historically. Maybe we've been a bit lazy. It's about, all right, this is your gap. You're going to pick the ball up and you're going to run here. But in actual fact, it's more around, if this happens, then X. If this happens, then Y. If this happens, then Z. And a lot of other people are doing it, and maybe we're a bit slow to the party. But maybe we should pick that sort of stuff up a little bit more.
And that's going to be down to your levels of competition you're playing at as well. And it goes back to what Adam was saying about grading his running backs. If you've got a running back and used to play centre, if that running back is keying off my back or my ass and he knows which lane he's hitting, then that's one tick. Then after that, if that next step he is then also reading the 1 tech, the 3 tech, or where that right linebacker is after that, that is the next level of
course it is,
grading of that running back.
And you can take that.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
No, I was just going to say, on John's point, if he's reading your ass, but then not reading the 1 tick or the 3 tick, then it gets blown up in the backfield. But if he's reading both, it's 5 yards.
Exactly.
We've had this coming from John, so I'll answer it because direct. I mean, which one finishes? I'm guessing that's when we're talking about my running backs. Whoever wants it more, mate. To be honest, whoever wants to score, or depending on what the result is, probably 4th string might get a go. I don't know. Depends on the game.
I thought it'd be you, Adam. Wouldn't you put your lid on?
For the seniors, yeah, I've been in there.
Yeah, run it in.
I had I think I'll have you know that 2 games the last time we got to play, I had most yards on the day. So just remind that to people.
3. Most yards, 3.
It was 6 against East Kilbride. It was 6, 3 yards a carry, 2 carries. I'll take that. And then we've got another one from John. What are the visual cues you teach running backs to key off? So is there like a specific cue, or I'm assuming it just varies player by player, obviously, but
sorry, go on then.
Every play has different visual landmarks, and I guess we all teach a similar version. But it's keying off. I do mine in yards away from where the alignment is. So as an example, it will be 4 yards outside of the play side tight end would be an outside zone kind of key. So that's a visual aiming point. And then the next stage to that is how are they adjusting to what Toby was talking about in the defensive line shift as they start to run that, and where is the cutback lane likely to open up against the front that they're going against, basically. So
yeah, huge on that. I think that's really relevant. I think it's more, it is around understanding a couple of different things. So it's understanding where your O-line are going. So it's really working. It's not just taking for granted what the scheme is. So a lot of running backs these days are sort of just give me the ball, I'm off away. So understanding where the scheme is, understanding where the play is supposed to go, understanding what can change the direction of the play. So whether it be a safety coming into the box that wasn't in the box beforehand, whether it's a D lineman at 1 or 3 that shifts their feet, all those kinds of things means that as Andy said, the lanes start to change. So I try to keep my backs cognizant of not just offensive shifts but defensive shifts as well. I mean, inside zone can be a challenging play to run. Not everyone can do it well. It also depends on the personnel that you've got on the field at the time and their ability to shift a large mass in a 1 tech or sometimes a 3 tech. So it's just being aware of these things as well.
So going back to the national team as a whole, if we would have a training session tomorrow, what would your first drill be that you'd be doing? Running back
handoff, ball security.
Ball security.
It's always ball security for me. It's always ball security. It doesn't matter what level. So it's always awkward to walk into these sorts of situations, because especially if you're a new coach into an already existing program, because you're assuming a level of knowledge that may or not be there. So you absolutely need to sort of redress it back down to the basics, which is, right, how do we control the football? So how do you stop spilling the ball? So for me, the guys may have a different view, but I always start with ball security, and I always draw ball security first because I think it's the most important part in every practice.
Yep, I'd also agree with that, but I'd probably go mesh is highly undervalued. I think it's highly undertaught personally at a lot of club level football as well. The exchange between the quarterback and the running back is one of the most important points. So yeah, I'd probably start with some kind of mesh drill and possibly even working even further back into some kind of stance and start drill as well, just to get them fired up and ready to go.
Yeah, going off the back of that, I think Toby and Andy have picked up on the ball security. A lot of the things you do see from running backs at a young age and senior level, and rookie running backs, is that first step. And the amount of times on film I've annotated guys either hopping or just taking a backward step as their first step, rather than coming forward and accelerating forward. It's just trying to teach that. And yeah, so you're off with your stance and start.
How much time do you spend on actually teaching them how to block?
Well, I know we have sectional indie times where we go through with blocking and we put them with the linemen, and so that they are blocking on pass block and pass pro, and just pure drills on pass pro, just to make sure that so they know that role kind of thing. It's definitely time spent on it.
Yeah, and there's also time spent on actually who to pick up, which sounds pretty obvious, but a lot of cases where guys don't actually know exactly who's going to come or from where. So it's good to kind of hammer that back into them and readjust to something that might be different from their club level, because some of these guys are coming from 5 and 9 man football as well. So you've got to take that into account.
Toby, we were just talking then, how much time do you spend on teaching your running backs how to block?
So it depends on my scheme. So in lots of instances, quite a large amount of time is spent on sort of pass pro and run blocking, but also, without letting the cat out of the bag right now, we're running a lot of single back and into routes. So actually it's all right. We're not playing you this year, so it's fine. So, it is a case of, pushing the back out into the flat or pushing the back into a wheel or whatever. We spent, I think it's a massively underrated skill. Personally, my clinic film is around pass pro for running backs. When I grade, when I grade running backs during application processes, I'm always looking for pass pro in their film, so everyone can hit home runs running wise and everyone can catch a football, but what I want to see is good technique. So for me it's essential, but it's also essential for the back, because as a running back myself, and I'm sure Andy is there, John maybe aspiring running back at some point, but you don't want to come out on third and whatever. You want to stay on the field. So what can allow me to stay on the field on third down? Well, it's either my ability to catch the ball out of the backfield or it's my ability to block. So, for me, it's essential, and any of the backs that I picked up in the national program through their film has been adequate or shown potential in pass blocking.
We've had a question come in from Sean, which he knows I hate reading long questions, so he's just been a prick here. So I'll read it out anyway. In oppositionals against linebackers, what are you looking for from the guys on the other side of the ball that will best assist the running backs in drill designed for the offense to win? Attacking that ball security you've mentioned, a variation of contact or another form of consistent contact. I'm guessing he's asking mainly what do you want in those drills that are designed mainly for the running backs to essentially win?
It depends on the drill. It really does depend on the drill, Sean. So if I'm teaching a pass pro drill where I'm expecting a guy to fill a gap in the O-line as we half shift to the right or half shift to the left, then I want the linebacker to try to take an inside line. If I'm expecting a defensive end and I'm trying to pick up an M loss or whatever, and I expect the M loss to try to take the most direct route to the quarterback and all of those kinds of things, and be aggressive in their approach. So it is about listening. It's not necessarily about it's the same as most drills, which is for players understand, and maybe it's for coaches to be able to verbalize it, understand what the drill is specifically for. So what is it that we hope to achieve from this drill? So, it's not just about Sean's ability to run past my running back and tap the quarterback on the head and say, haha, that's a sack. Maybe it's about, generating the running back's ability to take an inside line, find that point of leverage, that punch, that point of attack, and drive that home, and actually just be compliant in the process rather than be somewhat, trying to win points each time, if that makes sense.
Agree. Totally agree with that. I think it's having that structure set out at the start to say this is what we want to achieve from this drill, and this is why we're running that drill, and that really does help the running backs if the linebackers are actually, trying to give them a very decent simulation to what they're doing. So they're going full contact and they're going full speed, but they're actually, of the idea that this is to benefit this side of the ball rather than getting points. So yeah, perfectly explained.
We've had this just come in from Charlie Holland. Come on, man, I have to teach you, man, about American football. Men, you have a lot to learn yet. How did you men get on Baffle Talks? Go on Zoom. Charlie, thanks for being a pleb, mate. But if you want to come on BRITBALLIN tomorrow to talk about American football, you're more than welcome, Bonnie lad. Because if I'm honest, you sound like a knob. Cheers.
We like Charlie. Charlie Ratford. Charlie writes
Nah.
for a few plays. No, okay, we don't like Charlie. Fair enough. Sorry, Charlie. Adam says we don't like you. All the best. That's a good question from the previous. Was it Sean? Which was about, it's about practice in general, isn't it? Really, it's not just about running backs and linebackers. It's about all practices. It's about how do we get them. We don't have the contact hours that they have in the States. We don't have, the flexibility, the tech, the money, all of those kinds of things. So, how do we generate the most amount of value from the 3, 4, 5, 6 hours that we have together each week or whatever the case may be? And I think that's really key, which is actually describing maybe who the winners of each drill should be. So, under these circumstances, these guys are expected to win this drill. Under these circumstances, these guys are expected to win this drill. And actually, a win in this drill is, that maybe it doesn't work as predicted and all those kinds of things, I think. So, BRITBALL is about generating the maximum amount of coaching value from the minimum amount of time that we have contact-wise. So it's a great question, Sean.
And that's definitely been brought more to the front this year with our return to play and our 30 minutes of contact and trying to narrow down what you're going to get the most out of. Is it best to do with this kind of one-on-one? Is it best to do this one-on-one? Do you do a big cap drill? Do you do a box drill? The kind of thing, just to make sure that those guys are getting that 30 minutes for the 1 or 2 times a week that you see them, kind of thing. And it is difficult. You're quite right, Toby. There's a lot of things you can try and bring over from America, but yeah, we're not getting the kind of times that those guys get.
Nowhere near the time. Also, one thing that I would, for me personally, what I'd like to know is if we could, as a how do you say it? It's like a regular day-to-day coach of your local side here. Is there a way that we could know more about what's going on in the national team or what you guys are looking for in set players so we can then start coaching to help out the national team more?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Sorry, I think my point earlier around if you're wanting to progress running backs to the next level, you need to be teaching them pass protection. So you need to be picking up all of your skillful backs and understanding their skills and benefits and where they fit in. So if you've got a scat back type that's 5'6", 180, but runs a 4.35, then he's not going to be doing pass protection, although it's an asset. Get that guy into your passing program and into your passing scheme. I think it's understanding what guys can benefit from 3 downs, and how they can really fit into a scheme. Whether it gives you, that extra 6-man in the pass protection on 3rd and long, or whether it gives you sort of a flash asset in a 3rd and short to drop into a flat or into a Texas or into just a dump off, all those guns. I think it's important to understand the versatility that a good running back adds.
We've had this come in from Jordan. Opinions on youth 5-man format for developing young running backs and players in general.
Contact. It is just about contact. It is just about it is just about getting used to space. It is just about finding yourself in space. I think it is just about using your offensive coordinator in a 5 or 7-man scheme to create space for a running back to thrive. Otherwise, if you're not creating a space for running back to thrive in 5, 7, or 9, that running back will stagnate, because it's that's the hard part. Is that you're not creating an island. You're just relying on a kid's athletic ability to break a tackle and make yards. But you're not scheming for that kid to be successful. You're just using his athletic prowess.
Sorry, go for it, Andy.
I was just going to say, going back to the previous question on evaluation, also there's a couple of points that I'd like to get out on that one. One, Toby's right about the kind of physicality and the difference between the two kinds of backs that we're looking for, I guess. But also, there's no reason why anyone shouldn't have film in today's world. Film your practice, film your drills, get that properly done by coaches, and send that in for evaluation. There's only a finite amount of people playing the sport in this country. There's only a certain amount of running backs playing the sport in this country. The chances are, between this small community that we operate in, we're going to know that person or know that player, or if we don't, we're going to know a coach that's coached that player. So look for the attributes and get the film in as well. And I think that says a lot to me. I've had a lot of guys approach me and say, I'm a running back and I can do X, Y, Z. And then I say, well, let me see that. And they say, oh, I've never filmed a session.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, everyone has a camera phone. Everyone has a coach. Everyone has at least one player on the team that's an assistant. Film some drills, film some pass pro drills, film some mesh, film some inside zone drills, send them in. That's how can we know about these people if we have no idea that they even exist?
Absolutely.
I think collectively we need to and I say the whole BritBall needs to be better at doing that. And something I've started doing is actually filming the individual periods for running backs now as well.
I'll tell you what, right? I'll go one even better for you, right? Send them into GB coaches, but you've all seen my video fail before. Send them into me. I'll put you at the start of this, right? Get some highlights to us. I'll put them at the start of this.
Love that.
There you go. See, a little bit of promo for you. Put your name all over it as well. No, but on the 5-man format that Jordan mentioned there, as a coach that coaches at the 5-man format, I get why people don't like it. They want the 11-man style of game or move up to even 9s or whatever. But honestly, like as a coach, like I want it to look like football, so I'll stick a guard in there. I'll have a pulling guard in.
Yep.
He's got to follow his block.
Yep.
You can make it look like football.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I think that's a bit. It's not just about accepting the norms. It's about being a bit different with it. And as you say, bringing the wide receiver that crack blocks the center and pull the center out to the running back's lane. There's lots of things you can do. But it does. It takes some time. It takes not cognizant on all of the rules and what isn't acceptable. But there's lots of things you can do. It's good.
There you go. There's a plug for Quick Cut. Right there. Watching this, commenting on drills, filmed on a phone yesterday and uploaded to Quick Cut. Perfect footage, constant coaching. There you go. See, little plug.
Is there a
That'll be
discount
weird.
code on that, Adam, or not? I didn't see a discount code.
I don't have discount codes,
Yeah.
mate. That's-
No, well, there you go.
Oh, I've only got one for EP. So for me, the 5-man format, honestly, just make it look like football. Like, I'd rather lose the game and look like football than start
Hey,
just
look, I started
throwing
playing the
the faster.
5-man format. I played 7s and 9s and 11s and all those kinds of things. It has massive benefit because it just engages people, right? But the thing
Kids
about
playing
5,
football.
exactly. But also the thing about 5 and 7 is that you should be, you know, if you're 1-on-1 on the O line, D line, you should the person with the most soundest fundamentals generally wins, right? I mean, it's obviously there's a size differential, so you get into that really intricate detail of football, which is depending upon your ability to coach fundamentals, right? At that level, because you haven't got anybody to clean up your mistakes. If you make a mistake as a DB in 5s, so you're done, right? If you make a mistake as a D lineman in 5s, you're done, right? The play goes for a touchdown. So you know there's nowhere to hide in 5s. And there's very few places to hide in 7s and 9s as well, right? If you get burnt, you're done. So, you know, I think it's important to recognize that. And I think, you know, maybe we should maybe focus a little more sometimes on how we take that learning and extend it into the 11 on 11 type game.
I think there's a massive place still for 5s. I know people hate on it, but I still love the 5s. I think we're getting more people playing the sport from that. You can get as many teams there, whatever. I love 5s. Don't get us wrong. I would still like, before they get to GB, have a little conference. So, like, take ours, for example, from last time when there was like Leeds, Sheffield, us, Northeast, whatever. Stick them together and make an 11v11 team to go and play the other conferences. That would be great. And then you guys could come and select the players from there. Fantastic. But 5s, I love it. You get your team out there. It's class. Absolutely class. I love it. Much prefer it to the adult football. Sorry, I do. Don't even care.
If we still played 5s, I reckon I could still be playing. I might have to play centre though.
Nah, go QB, mate. Join us.
No, I can't throw a spiral from life.
I can. No one catches it though. Just putting that out there. We've had a question coming from Coach Adam Lewis. How are you each teaching pass pro, and what drills could clubs utilize to improve this skill? By the way, utilize is a nightmare word for a dyslexic, by the way, but cheers for putting that in. Are they, you right? Fire away, anyone.
I think it has to go over to Coach here, because you said already that you're doing your clinic talk on this. So
yeah. So it also depends on his scheme, right? So
Yeah.
there's some stuff that's coming, and I'll upload it soon. So it depends on his scheme and whether or not you're sending your back out on routes all the time, or whether you're expecting him to fill in a half slide or a full slide or all those kinds of things. So one of the most basic drills that we use for O linemen, running backs, all those kinds of things is mirrors. So you want to be running mirror drills, and you want to be keeping inside leg to inside leg, and the other side of it is head to throat. So you want to be taking away the inside all the time, so making sure that you've got your inside leg outside of theirs. We also run and obviously there will be film. I filmed some today, which is around sort of half slide blitz pickup around that running back getting across the face of the quarterback into that gap that's provided. Also taking that position to pick up the blitzing linebacker, but also about leverage as well. So it's not just about being a speed hump in that situation. It's actually about being dominant in that position, which is sort of taking away the inside and striking at the underarm of the blitzing linebacker. So you're not necessarily trying to face someone heads on that's 50 pounds heavier than you. It's about leverage, and it's about physics and all those kinds of things. So there are a number of different drills that you can teach people cut blocking, all those kinds of things. I saw a really good drill that I've in researching for this, which was around flashing an outside hand. to get somebody to commit to an outside and then striking with an inside punch. So, even during this process, I've learned something. So it's an evolutionary process, but it also needs to fit in with your own offensive scheme as well. So there's no point in sort of positioning it as a fit one for all. If you don't expect your running back to do pass pros. So I promised Wayne that I will upload some film in the next couple of days. So watch this space, I guess.
I totally agree with all the coaches said there. Like, has to fit your scheme. I still do quite a bit of something that was touched on earlier in the show was when guys are recognizing coming inside to going outside. So you've got an outside D end or the ends coming to the inside. There's a lot of recognition on leverage there as well and where you have to get to. So try and go through a bit of feet positioning as well. I find that helps quite well. So yeah, there's numerous drills you can do for that, but definitely make people aware that it won't always necessarily come from where you think it's going to come from.
And touching on again what Toby said before with leverage, with the O-lineman background, even if you have got a smaller running back, those guys can divert or deflect a larger guy coming round. Even if he doesn't stop him in his tracks, if he can usher him outside or give that quarterback the space to be able to step into a pocket, it is again teaching the guys that there isn't just one way to effectively skin a cat. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to stop a linebacker dead in his tracks. You don't have to cut or block a D lineman. If you can pass them off around, it's just having the confidence to be able to do that.
I think the overriding thing is generally is inside leg to inside leg, take away the inside leverage and strike underneath as somebody comes inside. So, you always want to be the first punch is generally, you're taking away the ability for somebody to come inside. Your first punch is under the underarm of the inside underarm, unless you flash outside, which gives you a different position. But then also, there's that ability if the guy is bull rushing, is just take his knees out, and I mean that's why we all played running back quite personally.
There it is. I was waiting.
Whenever my kids come rushing towards me, I generally cut block one of them. They're 7 and 5, and they're both girls. So you got to keep in practice, right? It's just got to keep in practice.
I was waiting for it. I was just waiting for if he's coming around, just cut him out his socks. Yeah. I love hearing that on the sideline.
The only thing with cutting is it's the same thing, isn't it? It's like if they're on the ground and you're on the ground, you're both 10 versus 10, right? So if you can avoid being 10 versus 10, if you can be 10 versus 11 or 11 versus 10, as the situation evolves, and that's better than being 10 versus 10. But, if you're 225 pounds and the guy that's coming is 275 and, looks like Tarzan, then just take his knees out and be done with it, right? Get on with it next play. But generally, Adam, generally it's take the inside leverage, take the inside step, keep your inside leg inside theirs, and strike underneath the arm and push. Generally,
I like it. Here's one for you. Right, competition Britball. Send me your best cut blocks. I love them.
Oh, that's a great idea, right?
There we go. Send us your best cut blocks from running back. I love that.
Can I cut block a former? Can I cut block another coach? Is that all right? That'd be good.
Yes.
Yes.
Best cut block. Send them in. We'll send you something for the best one. I love it.
Brilliant.
Love that idea. Now, but what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up there, guys. Thanks very much for coming on. I do appreciate it. And we normally ask a question. Is the last question that we do for all of these. What is most important? Fast hands or fast feet for your position? So we'll quickly ask that, and then we're going to bounce. So, Toby, what is most important for the running back?
Fast mind. Fast mind.
He would ruin the question. Look,
hands
or feet. Hands or feet. Pick one.
Fast mind. Mind.
Andy, if you say mind, I'm gonna be so annoyed here. Like
Andy, say mind.
Fast vision.
Yes, which is directly linked to mind.
John,
come on, John. No pressure, John.
I'm going feet. I'm sorry. I'm going feet.
Yeah,
John.
go on, John. You
No,
hero.
of those
Not as eloquent
two.
as these other two coaches.
He's John's building fast robots in Shropshire. Good man.
What were you going to say, there, Andy?
No, I was gonna say of the two, like, yeah, if I was playing ball, I'd say fast feet for sure. But yeah, we're talking about the mind, the processing of information, the vision, everything that comes with playing the position. So
Brilliant. Thanks very much for coming on, guys.
Feet. To
No,
close
you've
the
had
gap,
your
feet.
turn.
Yeah.
No, you've had your turn, Toby. You can stick with
Well,
your
I can't
man,
have
right?
mine. I'm having feet. All right.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks,
Really
Adam.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, Adam.
Nice to
Cheers,
meet
guys.
you
Great
all.
coaches.
All the best with your seasons and stuff.
Take
Thanks,
care,
guys.
guys.
Except for Adam.
Yeah, cheers.